Well, it's been a few weeks since we've talked with reporter William Kelly out of Chicago to get the latest on the ground there. Chatted with him by phone earlier this morning and got some of the latest in the ongoing situation that's being described as a crisis when it comes to migrants arriving in Chicago. And it's not just Chicago. You've got the suburbs also being impacted by this. But what's the mayor's response been like? William Kelly providing a bit of context in that regard. Here he is in a conversation I had with him briefly this morning.
Well, the migrant crisis is not getting better, Greg. Obviously, we have more migrants in Chicago. The migrant shelters are at capacity, and the Chicago weather, the Chicago winter, has kicked in and made the situation even worse. Mayor Johnson does not appear to be handling this very well. As you know, the bus companies that he famously brought legal action against are now suing Chicago over the migrant drop-off rules. So nothing that Johnson is doing seems to be making the situation better, despite spending or misspending, as obviously many people are concerned, millions and millions of dollars on the housing and the care of the migrants. As you know, he's big city mayors, including Johnson, are asking for $5 billion from the Biden administration. And, you know, Biden is not making the situation any better with his border policy as it currently is currently. And, of course, this is all with the backdrop of the looming Democrat National Convention coming to Chicago.
And that convention is going to be in August, so it will be interesting to see how all this plays out with the situation in the months ahead and whether or not it calms down or how it's handled. Of course, if you read the newspapers, you'll see that now President Biden is saying something has to be done with the southern border. He's asking for more money from Congress to deal with it. But all of that also is in the context of what kinds of conversations there's going to be about immigration reform or possible asylum or what happens. But clearly there's a crisis at hand here. Now, it's not just Chicago that's getting hit with this. There's some headlines that William Kelly brought forward with us to discuss when it comes to the suburbs. And of course, the mayor in Chicago is hoping to meet with the suburban mayors, some saying that they're not going to meet with them. Other communities across the state of Illinois moving forward with provisions to make them a non-sanctuary county or to level, some kind of, legal action against bus companies that unannounced drop migrants off in their communities. So clearly there's a patchwork here, and even the governor said that some legislators are looking at how they can bring uniformity to how local communities deal with these types of bus drop-offs. But what about the crimes that are being reported here with some of the migrants in the suburbs? Here's William Kelly.
Well, this is an interesting development. There have been a string of thefts and burglaries by migrants plaguing not only Chicago, but the suburbs. Oak Brook in particular, the very, very popular Oak Brook Mall, which has up until recently has been a very beautiful outdoor mall, and even during COVID was actually a very an attraction that people would go to just because it was beautiful and they enjoyed walking outside. Now you have a string of migrant shoplifting, essentially gangs that are being arrested. And the obvious question for even just a Chicagoan like myself, reporter or citizen, is how are these migrants getting from Chicago to Oak Brook? If they're staying in Chicago migrant shelters, how are agreeing this round trip from Chicago to Oak Brook on such a regular basis? Many are being arrested, but they're released with court dates. Are they showing up for their court dates? We don't know. Famously, the state's attorney Berlin in DuPage has said, don't try that, Chicago shoplifting routine in DuPage because we prosecute. Well, are they prosecuting migrants who don't show up for their court dates?
So again, an interesting question that you see playing out in some of the suburbs, but it's not the only story that's stemming from Chicago. You had over the weekend more headlines and tweets about a Bloomberg reporter over in Washington, D.C., I believe, where the mayor was. He wanted to get a question into Johnson, but allegedly was shoved by a mayoral staffer. So William Kelly kind of giving us some highlights of what he's been able to hear and read about all of this.
Right. Well, Greg, this is a very interesting story. As a reporter, and my own experience with mayoral staff getting physical when asking a question, even at a press conference or on a public sidewalk, perfectly legitimate question, perfectly legitimate circumstances. Now, this is an incident that allegedly occurred in Washington, D.C. I wasn't there. I didn't witness it. I don't know what I haven't seen any video yet, but so it literally is a he said, she said. The reporter, the male Bloomberg reporter, tweeted immediately that he had been shoved by a female member of Mayor Johnson's staff. And Mayor Johnson, true to form, tweeted right back or responded that it was the reporter that actually a female member of his staff. I find that, again, I wasn't there. I would love to see some video of this. I wonder if Mayor Johnson's answer would change if there was if video did surface of this incident. But this is the kind of stuff that, oddly, Chicago mayoral staff thinks is part of their job description, to shove reporters that ask questions that are not welcome by the mayor. And this is why I have, believe it or not, Greg, a legal defense fund that the reporter WilliamJKelly.com that I ask for donations, because from what I can tell, the only punishable offense in the city of Chicago now is asking elected officials questions.
So William Kelly also sharing some of his thoughts on what is considered some of the rumors going around that Mayor Johnson has been having some anxiety issues, even some on social media saying that they've got sources saying that the mayor had to seek some medical help for anxiety. Is there anything that William Kelly's hearing on that front?
Well, these are rumors. And as you know, Greg, I don't deal in rumors. Outside of just rumors from very unsubstantiated or questionable sources, this is. But I mean, is being mayor of the city of Chicago a tough job? Yeah. Are there a lot of issues being thrown at Mayor Johnson? The migrant crisis in particular, I can see where that would keep you up at night. Whatever rumored health issues aside, it's pretty, there are mounting criticisms that Mayor Johnson just simply is not up to the task. And the real, the question I have, especially with the DNC, the Democrat National Convention, coming to Chicago in 2024, is, will Mayor Johnson complete his complete first term as mayor of the city of Chicago?
So again, thanks to William Kelly for sharing some of his thoughts on these various headlines, and we'll be checking in with him again next week and get the latest from the ground on the streets of Chicago with reporter William J. Kelly. All right, that's all I got for you here with that topic. Appreciate you guys being here.